Welcome everybody, my name is Tony Lankford for the Actors Lounge. We're here at the beautiful New Freedom Theater in Philadelphia with Miss Patricia Hobbs.
I am the managing director of the training program, and we teach acting, singing, and dancing to preschoolers, preteens, teens, and adults. Right now we're in the midst of our summer program, and I just love to teach. I love to pass on knowledge that I know, and theater has a way of taking the moment on the stage that really can influence someone's life, you know, in a positive way. So that's why I do it.
Why do you feel that it's important for young people to be involved with the arts?
Because art is life, okay? Art is all around us. The buildings that we're in, the architecture is art. The clothing that we wear, the jewelry that we wear, all of it is art. The design of our cars, the design of our houses. And when 2,000 years from now, when they want to find out what's happening in a culture, they're going to dig up an artifact. And so art is very, very important in our lives, and it influences everything that we do. And when we want to sell something to young people, we use visual arts, we use digital arts, we use all kinds of arts to get them to become consumers. And so I feel that having a good arts education allows them to become an informed consumer.
We're surrounded by young people today on the set. What I would like is for each one of you guys to introduce yourselves and tell us how you're involved with the Freedom Theater. Let's start with this gentleman right here.
Hello, my name is Khalil Munir. I've been involved at Freedom Theater since the age of 9 years old. And then I went on to college, and after college, I trained in New York for a while, went to California, and I found myself back home. And when I say home, I mean freedom. I consider this place to be a home away from home. These people at this institution, they basically raised me. If I wasn't at the theater, I don't know, what I would be doing. I say this a lot whenever I talk about the theater. It saved my life. It really saved my life and gave me an opportunity to have a future and to have a career at something that I love to do.
Hello, my name is Abria Hollinger, and I've been involved at Freedom for about 2.5, 3 years. Freedom has just been, as Khalil said, it's just been a home away from home. When I'm not at home, I'm at Freedom, I'm performing, I'm singing, I'm either writing songs. I believe that Freedom has helped me to break out of my shell. I'm usually a shy person. I don't talk a lot. But Freedom has allowed me to become a performer on stage, and that even though I'm not a talkative person, I can still blossom out and become a flower on stage, because that is very important to me. It's very important to me that I share my talent with the world, and also that I share it with my friends. And I've met some very wonderfully talented performers here, as you can see. Very talented performers.
My name is Jazir Terrell. I first came to Freedom Theater when I was 7, it's 98. My mom wrote me up here because she was working here, and she took me along every day. And at first, I wasn't initially right into the program because I was just coming along with my mom, and then it was like, well, while you're in the building, why not take some classes? And that's sort of what happened. So they put me in the creative dramatic class. I remember my teacher then, I think it was Miss Mina.
Okay.
Manager's son is a demonstrator then. Very surprised me as my other demonstrator. And in that class, at first I thought, I was like, what? Art, whack. Man, me coming down here every day, what am I doing? I don't want to do that. But then I came here and I was like, wow, wait, you're going to let me perform on stage here? And then, it was great. And I got in front of everybody, and at first I was like, whoa, people. Sitting in a house, this is scary.
Right.
But after a while, it becomes natural, and it becomes something you love to do, and it's something I really love to do. I love to get out here, and I love to see people, smile and see their reactions in the audience, and I just love to be out here doing that. Right now, I'm a recent graduate from the Performing Arts Training Program, acting program, I was an acting major here. And right now, I'm demonstrating for the teen acting class that's in the summer program.
Now, what do you guys think is the most important thing about being on stage as far as performing for other people? What's the most important thing, and also what goes through your mind while you're doing it?
I think you really get the opportunity to touch someone's life. I think because you're sharing a piece of yourself. And I really don't think people understand that the audience is also sharing a piece of themselves. There's this give and take that's going on stage. The energy that is passing from yourself to someone else, they're receiving that energy and giving it back to you. So in essence, you have an opportunity to share with one another in the same space for 2 hours. And I think that's a blessing. That's a great opportunity, because you never know what you're doing and how it's going to touch and affect that person when you're on stage. I think that's the beautiful part of being a performer. You have the opportunity to touch a life, and they may touch your life as well. And at the same time, it's the job of the performer. That's where craft comes into play, because sometimes the audience may not give you energy, but it's your job to still be able to pass that to them. And it's up to them. It's their choice whether they give it back to you, but it's always your job to give it to them, you know, to give that energy to them. And I think when you're on stage, a lot of things are running through your mind. A lot of things are running through your mind.
What runs through your mind?
What's my line?
What's my next line, right?
Right. What's my next cue? Who's coming on stage? You know, really, a lot of times it's, you know, how are they receiving me? Are they receiving me? Are they getting me? And when I say they, I mean the audience. You know, that's what's running through my mind a lot of times. Or, am I giving my best right now? You know, this is an opportunity for me to share. Am I sharing to the utmost right now? Am I giving my all right now?
As an actor, do you guys feel that it's more important that you say the line and do the show, or is it more important that they get you? What's more important to you?
That's kind of tough. I mean, because as an actor, the most basic thing you do is you memorize your lines and you say them. I mean, it's a basic thing.
It's not an easy thing.
Not at all.
I mean, it's what you got to do. I mean, you're not just standing there on stage, unless, of course, you're directed to stand on stage and say absolutely nothing. But I mean, as you build a character, you find that there are certain things within you that can go into the character, and there are certain things that are just the character themselves. I mean, it's sort of a symbiosis between the two of you. It's like a fusion of two different personalities to create one being that is on stage. So I wouldn't say it's not necessarily as important to make the audience understand you as it is to make the audience understand the message which is being conveyed by the lines.
One of the things that we talk about, that I say to young performers all the time, is the show is not about you. Okay, it is not the Patricia Hobbs show or the Khalil show or the Jazir show or the Abria show. Okay, usually the show is about something else and someone else, and so you've got to be able to use, like Jazir said and like Khalil said, you got to be able to use portions of yourself, but understand that the characters that are created and the story that has to be told really has to transcend your personal feelings. And so there's a professional standard that everybody learns when they're in classes. And I think that it's important that everybody understand that in this business there are professional standards. Just like when you walk into an operating room with a doctor, you expect certain professional standards to happen in that room in order for your operation to be safe. I think the audience should expect certain professional standards in order for them to be able to understand what's going on so that they can be touched.
Some of the images that are portrayed by African Americans in both theater and film, how do you guys feel about that? Anybody can answer that. How do you feel about images of African Americans being portrayed?
You mean like?
You know, I don't want to pass judgment, and but there's this, like Ms. Pat was saying, there's a certain standard, and I think it's our job to teach the standard and to teach what theater is, because a lot of times the audience, they really don't know what they're receiving until you tell them this is what the standard is. And right now, I think the state of our African American theater is, I feel like it's not coming from a pure place. It's coming from a place that's money driven. And if your only aim is to get a lump sum of money, and this is the quality of work that you're going to put out on the stage, I think that's where it's lacking. It needs to come from a pure place, and a place of this is the standard that I want to be able to teach you and teach the audience and give to you. And right now, I don't think that's happening. And again, I don't want to pass judgment on any other institution or any other directors or producers out there who's doing their thing, because at the end of the day too, that's their vision, you know. And I don't want to pass judgment on their vision, but at the same time, I think we could lift the standard.
As far as African American theater goes, all around the world, every culture has its own form of theater. You have Japanese No theater. You have, you know, theaters all over the planet, and each theater all over the planet conveys their art form through their culture. It's done the way everybody in that area, you know, pretty much is. But African American theater is kind of strange in that there's not one set thing that can be defined as, you know, strictly African American theater, and I don't think people understand that. And when they see one thing, they assume that's what the entirety of it is. So there's no real cultural understanding, or people automatically, you know, they just make assumptions based upon what they see there, and it doesn't, you know, it doesn't help, it doesn't do anything, because one of the purposes of theater is to maybe convey a message. No, not maybe, but definitely convey a message. And either, you know, are you raising the standard? Are you uplifting the people you're performing for? Or are you downgrading them? Are you damaging them? Or are you helping them out by what you do?
What do you think it's more of now?
More of now, you know what? I think it's just sheer entertainment. It's neither uplifting or, you know, putting someone down. It's just people like to see drama. And so the most of that, you know, the contemporary African American works are centered around drama, you know.
I mean, you have networks that say we are drama.
Yeah,
Right. They come out and tell you that, hey, we're drama, and this is where you need to come to get it.
Jazir touched on how is it uplifting or not. He also touched on the fact that we're not really, there's no clarity of what African American theater or even film is, you know, as a culture. But I think that there's so many other things that we need to look at. There are playwrights who are writing plays. They are being produced, but are we hearing about them? Okay. And in an industry where we don't control the industry of what's chosen and what's not, then that's where the question comes in. Is it just for money, or is it just, you know, is it uplifting or downlifting? So I think that there's a lot of positive things going on. And the other thing that I think is very, very important that we understand is that the art is for us in the sense that we perform and we give it to people, but the art is for the people. And so even in the things that you talked about that we may not necessarily like all aspects of it, there's something in there that the audience seem to gravitate to. And I think that what we have to be able to do as a culture is take those things that people gravitate to and be able to produce it in such a way that it has the standard that it needs. Because some of the things that I see, like in the Tyler Perry shows, is that they really are talking about people who have common issues that everybody has in their community, and somehow they're able to overcome these obstacles to have a brighter day at the end. Now, we may disagree with how the message was sent, okay, but the message is there, and people want to hear it. So how we decide to do that, and I think Abria might be able to speak to that in reference to music, okay?
Yeah. What they were saying, like, I think people just have to uncover the wool from their eyes and realize their history. I was recently blessed to, over the past year, to have a teacher that talked to me about black music and where it came from, and I realized how much our youth just doesn't know about it, because the class that I'm demonstrating for, I mean, they didn't know who Stevie Wonder was. They didn't know who Billie Holiday was. They didn't know who Ben E. King was. And I was just like, I was really just shocked. I had to stand up for like, and just look at them. And then we're doing a song called Stand By Me. And they were just like, oh, the Sean Kingston. I'm like, no, it's not from Sean Kingston. And they're just like, oh, okay. And they were like sad about it. I'm like, you guys really need to like learn about your history. Like I said, I was blessed to have a cultural learn about where my music came from. Like we've been listening to jazz and learning about who, you know, like Ella Fitzgerald, Sarah Vaughan, Nancy Wilson. We've been listening to all types of like old time singers and stuff. And I'm just like, I was really excited that I got to learn about people because like, you know, I listen to Beyonce and I listen to Sierra, but at the same time you have to realize that the music started from somewhere. And Beyonce is not, you know, even though she's one of the bigger artists, she's not, you know, she didn't start, you know, music. And I think people have to realize the importance of knowing where this music came from, learning how to appreciate it, so that when you're singing a Beyonce song, you say, oh, well, she's influenced by, you know, so and so.
A lot of times, you know, we'll hear a contemporary song that was sampled from a song that was from the 50s or even beyond that, and everyone thinks the rhythm and the beat is so original, but that was done by, you know, someone back in the 60s or the 70s that, you know, the current generation does not know anything about.
Absolutely.
You know?
I'm sorry.
No,
I was saying, I think that's why our Freedom Theater is so important, because you have an institution here that's teaching you about your heritage, about your culture, about history and where the art form started. I love these Adinkra symbols in the theater, because one of the Adinkra symbols is Sankofa. You know, you have to know where you come from in order to know where you're going. And I think that sums up an artist. If you don't know where you've come from in your history, you really you can't go anywhere, you know, and you can't tell that story, because the story started back here. You know, you're just an extension of the story. So I think that's one of the most important things that happens here at Freedom Theater. You know, you learn your culture, and you have a sense of pride and a sense of self that kind of translates onto the stage, you know.
Patricia had mentioned something very interesting to the fact that there's work being produced that we gravitate to as a community, as a nation. Is that because it's the only thing that's being produced that's not different, or is it because that's really what we want to see? Do we want to really see some of the stuff that's out there, or is that the only thing that's being produced?
I think it's both things. Okay, and the reason why I say this is because we know that in this business, let's just take music for example, we're only exposed to what they want us to be exposed to. Once they've decided that they have chosen this piece of music, we hear that piece of music a bazillion times a day. Okay, and there might be a billion artists that are writing songs that we might be interested in, but once they've decided that that's what they're going to play, that's what we hear on the radio. Therefore, our choices are limited, okay? However, I have to say this. I love Mary J. Blige. I like her music, I like her voice, but I didn't get into her until she did So Fine, okay? And the reason why I didn't, as an older person, is her music was so sad to me. It was just, you know, but she kind of went into another portion of her career where she wanted to do more positive things, and then the music spoke to me in a different way. So I was talking to a young woman who might be about 25. And I expressed my opinion as someone who's 54. Okay, I expressed my opinion about Mary J. Blige, and so she said, "But Miss Pat," she said, "Mary J. Blige is talking about the things that actually happened to us in our generation. So good, bad, or indifferent, whether I agree with it or not, this young lady saw the things that Mary J. Blige was talking about as being a mirror of her life. And she wanted her life somehow to be celebrated or to be talked about in some way. So I think it's two things. I think that the message just needs to be balanced. I think that Mary J. Blige needs to tell those stories, you know, about, oh, the boyfriend this, and he did this to me, and he walked away, and blah, blah. You know, he needs to do some of that stuff. But on the other hand, we need to hear some of that uplifting thing, you know, those uplifting tunes that talk, you know, like in our generation where we talked about our relationships being very positive, you know, and being in love was a wonderful thing, you know.
And one of the things that I've noticed just in my generation alone, and the generation right now, is that we have so many different things plaguing us that the young generation don't know whether to go with that or to go with this. But the key is they perish because of lack of knowledge. Where's the history? Who's really teaching? Not the system's history, the history. And we get so caught up in that, and no one wants to take the responsibility to stand up and say, hey, wait a minute, you tried this, let's try it this way. Because there's so many facets to all of us. We have so many gifts and talents homed inside of us, we don't even know it's there until we tap into it. And one of the things that I just love your spirit. I really do. I mean, I love all of you, but I love your spirit because I love you're laid back. Be who you are, because you do blossom just in being who you are. I want to say that, and music is the focal foundation of our bridge today. Now, one of my favorite singers is Billie Holiday. I love Billie Holiday because she kind of, in a sense, really sung about what she went through in her era. The same way like Mary J. Blige. And I agree with a lot of things that you said. I like Mary J. Blige, some of the music that she sings, but then she steps back and she always does an assessment, and you can tell by her music. And she wants to see, she puts out what she personally experienced, but also she's relating to what we're going through as a whole. Because one thing we got to remember, no matter what we go through and where we are in life, we are all in this together. And we have to take the responsibility to reach down and pull each other up. You know, because we don't know who's our next president. We don't know who the next doctor is, the next lawyer is, and so forth. So we have to be able to say, hey, just because that person's sitting over there and is not saying much, that might be the next senator. We don't know that, and we have to be able to reach out and say, what are your thoughts? What are your dreams? What are your goals? And as we travel this life, we have to remember we can do anything we put our minds to, because we have a society that dictates to us, they want to put us in the box. Beware of the box. No, seriously, because it's plagued us so long. And once you find yourself with that tunnel vision, you know, after that comes stagnation. And when you get stagnated, then you're kind of in neutral. So you break the barrier somehow. Even if people, and you're going to have people that are going to agree with you, they're going to disagree with you, but the key is, what do you believe? What do you believe to be true for you? What are your experiences? Where do you want to go? Who do you want to take to the next level with you? Because remember, it's not about Nanette. It's not about Pat. You know, it's about all of us working with one common goal, to help each other. So the next generation can have a good example, something to fall back on. And they can say, oh, I remember Mrs. Hobbs at the Freedom Theater, and I remember that gentleman, he was a great teacher, and that's how we're going, because we just touch one life, just one. Then they'll touch someone, and then they'll touch someone, and that's how you build the bridge. And the key is, in the process of building the bridge, be mindful, you're gonna go through challenges. And what is that old saying? When the going gets tough, the tough get going. You know, you gotta press.
Welcome back to the Actors Lounge. I'm Tony Lankford at the beautiful New Freedom Theater in Philadelphia. We're talking to some people from the Freedom Theater, Miss Pat Hobbs, and a whole bunch of young people here talking about what they do and why they do it. I want to ask you a question. What speaks to you guys? What motivates you to do what you do?
What really motivates me is the fact that, so I teach here, and I teach children, and that motivates me. I see myself in them, and I always say, if nobody helped me and like pulled me up, then I wouldn't be where I am. So if I can reach back and help them to be able to see their vision and see what they want out of life, that's what motivates me. I truly believe that this institution, it does that for people. Miss Pat, Miss Diane, Miss Gail, and the several other people who've passed through this institution has touched my life, and I believe that I want to give that back to the next person. That's what truly motivates me.
Well, there's a saying that, there's a point where anybody can become an activist, and I think part of being a performer is like you're part performer and part activist, because you see something so wrong, you have to act.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that I see in, the people I have to call my peers. I mean, the people who, I'm around constantly, and there are certain things they don't understand, certain things they don't see, certain things they will never see unless it's conveyed by somebody, like them, someone from their generation. And so that's part of, what motivates me, because I have to show everybody else out there who's my age, who's, from my generation, who maybe doesn't understand, who's not sure if they're doing the wrong thing, who's maybe close to the right track or a little too close to the wrong track, where they can go, what they can do, what they're capable of. And so there's much more than what, the world they know. There's a whole wide world out there. And it's also for the, children younger than me, the next generation after me, because I can see, like, from some of them really don't have the direction they need from a young age, and that doesn't lead anywhere good later on in life. And so by coming here and me, performing for them, performing with them, teaching, demonstrating for them, they can see, the direction they need to go in. That's what motivates me.
What motivates you?
What motivates me is people that aren't afraid to be different, and that people that aren't afraid to put themselves out there positively, and people who can work together as a team. And if there's one person that's having a bad day, they're not like all in your face and making it worse. They're trying to help you, and they'll pick you back up if you're down. And they're just people that you want to be surrounded by, and there's all this positive energy. And if you need help, they will help you when you need it. I'm just motivated by wanting to better myself as a person, becoming more mature, becoming an adult, because in this day and time, I feel as though a lot of young people are content with just being at the bottom, and they don't know what they can be. And because there aren't people, they surround themselves with other people like that. Mm-hmm. But if you surround yourself with people that want to better themselves and want to get to the top and want to, go to school, want to educate themselves or whatever, just want to have a job and want to, take care of their family because that's what they should do, I think that, if that idea was spread through our youth, then we'd be a lot better off.